Hi, year 10. I'm going to go over COS. I'm going to go over the sign sheet in Zoom. So if you get up to the sign sheet and you want to know how to do it, can you watch the sign or the Zoom video once I'm finished here? But just remember, this one is COS. Yeah? So COS is adjacent over hypotenuse. Sine, when you get to it, is opposite over hypotenuse. And tan is, write these on your sheet yourselves, opposite over adjacent. And the way we remember those is through SO, CA, TOA. Remember that? Where SO stands for sine opposite over hypotenuse. CA stands for, did I not write COS? Oh, there it is. COS A over H. And TOA stands for tan, O over A. Alright, now all of the sheets are pretty much the same. You actually did this first sheet last year when you were in year 9. What I want you to actually get onto is this sheet here. So I'm going to go over 3 of the questions here just to make sure you remember it from year 9, and then I'm going to go straight to this sheet, and I'm going to do every second. So you have to do the ones that I don't do. Alright, that's what we're going to do today. That goes the same for the tan and also the sign sheet when you get to them. Alright, so the first thing you have to remember with trigonometry, hopefully you remember, you have to learn how to label the sides. Alright, so we go from wherever the angle is, not the right angle, but the other angle. So from the 23, hopefully you remember, the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. Do we remember that? There's the right angles. So I'm always going to put an H in here, and an H in here, and an H in here, because they're the ones opposite the right angle. Hypotenuse is always the first one you label because it's the easiest. So the other one, remember A or adjacent means next to. Remember that? So A means next to for adjacent. That means next to the angle of 23, next to the angle of 70, next to the Y side. Okay, next to, sorry, the angle of 49. Went the wrong way that time. So all of these are A's. So that's the second thing you have to do. Label the sides. Now this here was just getting you to practice how to do this on your calculator. And it's pretty much exactly as it is. 57, fraction key or divided by cos 36. This one here is 94. I don't think you have to, but if you want to, it means times cos 36. So if you put 94 cos 36 and you don't get the proper answer, which is, for me, 94 times cos 36 is 76.04 roughly. 047, I think. Alright, now remember, you must have a little tiny D at the top of your screen. To do trigonometry, you have to have it in degrees mode. If you've got a G or an R at the top of your screen, radians or rad or gra, you need to put it in deg. Okay, so you've got to find the DRG button, or if you've got a Casio, you've got to go shift, setup, which is next to the on button on mine, and then you'll see 3 for deg. Press 3 and it will automatically put it in degrees for you. If you've got a sharp, you just find the DRG and you keep pressing the DRG until D stays on your screen at the top. Alright, so let's get into one. Hopefully you remember how to do these. So the first thing we do is we label the sides. They've done that for us today. You're going to have to do that in a minute, okay? So from the angle, here's the hypotenuse, and this one is right next to the angle. That's why it's the A. If that's the A and that's the H, that's how I know to use cos. My formula, remember, is cos theta equals A over H. So I have to replace the theta, I have to replace the A, and I have to replace the H. You're going to do that a little bit more. You didn't do this much last year. Alright, so they've done that for you. They've put the 25 in here. We need to put the A, which in our case is an X, down here. And we need to put the 11 on the bottom of the fraction. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I didn't like it when they wrote this here, because our next step is actually to do an equation. Cos 25 equals x over an 11. So we have to get x on its own. So what's the opposite of dividing by 11? You will all say times by 11, miss, and I'll go, yay, you are correct. Now remember, when we're doing equations, we're trying to get that letter x on its own. So if there's an 11 on the bottom of the fraction and 11 on the top, they actually cross off. So when it's down here, it doesn't make any mathematical sense. So that's why I got rid of those, because putting the 11 down there doesn't actually make mathematical sense. So you're going to rewrite this now down here. The 11 goes out the front, the 25 goes out the back, and we're going to do that on our calculator. Now you can press times if you want, you don't have to. 11 times cos 25. Now my calculator opens a bracket, so I'm going to close the brackets, press equals, and I get 9. I'm going to write down here 9.969 dot 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 dot, but it wants it to 1 decimal place. So the 6 is telling me to do what to the 9? It's telling me to round it up, isn't it? And if I round it up, it becomes a 10. So that means I actually have to add 1 to that 9, and 9 plus 1 actually gives me 10. So that's actually incorrect, and it becomes 10.0 in there. Alright, so that's a basic one, and we're going to use that down here in a minute. Okay? So I'm going to do one of those down here. I'm going to leave question number 1, because that's pretty much the same as this, and it's all nice and scaffolded for you. So you can do question 1 on your own when you're ready. You can pause the video and have a go now if you want. I'm going to leave some of those scaffolded ones. I'm going to do this one. Let's do question 5. So question 5 is similar to the one we just did above on the first sheet. Let's go. So your first step, label the sides. Here's your right angle. So go across from your right angle. What's opposite the right angle? Hypotenuse is. Remember that? This one, it's right next to the angle, so it's adjacent. Remember, we're doing a cos sheet, so it should be cos theta equals A over H. So let's do that now on the first line. Cos theta. What's my theta? What's the angle? In the question, it's 53. Now, the fraction is A over H. What's the letter where the A is? It's a C. And what's the H? It's a 310. So write out your formula second. Okay? Right, next we need to get the C on its own. Let's do our knowledge of equations. How do I get C on its own if it's C divided by 310? I do the opposite, and I times by 310. In equations, I must balance my equation. So whatever I do to one side, if I times it by 310 over there, I must times by 310 on this side. Now remember, my main goal is to get that C on its own. So I can cross off a 310 that's up in the numerator with the 310 that's in the denominator. You don't need to use those. Okay, so that gives me C equals, and I just rewrite all of this down here, 310 times cos 53. So 310 times cos 53, close brackets, and I get C equals 186 point. Now it says 5626. 5626. Now I'm assuming it wants it to 1 decimal point. Does it say that up here? Yep, see there it says 1 decimal point. So let's do all the answers to 1 decimal point. So 56. Cross off the 6 but use it to round up the 5. What does it become? It becomes a 6. And my units were in millimeters, so my answer will be in millimeters. So there's my answer for the first one. Now just to help you out, it's not very many, they're all a bit hard. 8. 8 would be like that one. I don't know about those ones, but we'll go back. Alright, so there's only actually 2 of those on this sheet. Oh, and of course question number 1. And question number 3 is as well. So do all of those ones in that same fashion as that one there. Right, let's go back to the first sheet. So the first sheet now, you have a second type. The second type of question is this one here. So let's do the same thing. So this time we've got a 27-degree angle. Next to the 27-degree angle, we have 66, and opposite the right angle, we have x. So when I put this one in my formula, my A is my 66. So 66 goes up the top. 27 goes after the cos, because that's the degrees. Now my hypotenuse in this case is x. So you will notice you now have the x on the bottom. Over here, the x is on the top of the fraction, wasn't it? Here, the x is on the bottom. Now I'm going to go over the way to fix this using two methods. Alright, see here they've got swap. That's the shortcut. I'm going to show you the shortcut, which is pretty much just to swap the cos 27 and the x. Now if you remember the shortcut, fine, you go and swap. If you can't quite remember it, you might just want to watch here. So the first step is we need to get rid of whatever is on the denominator. So that's what I'm going to do. Multiply both sides by the same thing to balance them out. If I have an x on the top and an x on the bottom, I can cross those off. It actually means a 1, just in case you know. Now for the second step, I'm going to do it in purple. So on this side, I'm left with x times cos 27. I really want the x on its own, so that means I've got to get rid of the cos 27. So the opposite of timesing by cos 27 is to divide. Now remember, the fraction line means divide. Okay, so cos 27 goes on the bottom, and over here, see how it's on the bottom? Then I'm going to write cos 27 over here on the bottom as well. These guys, they cross off, and all that I've actually done is I've swapped my x that was there originally and the cos 27. So here I just rewrite this whole thing down here. 66 goes on the top, cos 27 goes on the bottom. So the shortcut is just to do a swap. X with the cos 27. It's much easier if you remember that way. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 66. Now either fraction key if you've got a Casio, or divided by, it shouldn't make a difference. If you're doing it on your sharp though, can you open brackets and then do cos 27 and close your brackets? Otherwise you might get a wrong answer. You don't have to do that on the Casio, people. So once I do that, I get 74.0735. Now 07 is telling me second digit is a 7, so that means I must round the 0 up, so it looks like this. 073. So I'm going to get rid of these two, but the 7, that's 5 or more, isn't it? So that means I have to add 1 to the 0. So that gives me a 74.1. So this is the second method. Alright, going on to the second sheet, because you've already done the first sheet many times. So second method, what you just did is here again. I'm not going to do that one for you. I'd like you to do 2 on your own. That's the swapsies method. They're quite easy to see because they have the word swap on them. Alright, so let's have a go at 4. So the reason why I knew 4 was the swapsies method is because opposite the right angle, let's label the sides. That's an H, isn't it? And next to the angle is adjacent. So when I write this one out, remember I use cos equals, theta equals A over H. So cos of the angle, so that's cos of 74 equals, now the A is the side 43 and H is the side X. So I've got another one of these swapsies ones. So I'm telling you the easiest way to remember it is just to swap the X and the cos 74. So let's do that. So I'm going to write X equals, I'm going to write swap in there. Okay, so the X goes over on this side. The 43 always stays on the top, okay? And the cos 74 goes on the bottom. Alright, let's do that on a calculator. 43 divided by, remember if you're doing a sharp, put the bottom in brackets. If you're on a Casio, you should be okay. Cos 74, my Casio opens some brackets, so I'm going to close them. and that gives me 156.002. Right, but if I'm doing it to 1 decimal place like all the others, I don't need those ones. I'm not having to round up, so my answer is just 0.0. Alright, now this one here, number 8, that goes with that one. That's not what we just did. This one here is the swapsies one. This one here is the way you do it, like all the red ones. And this one here, I think, I haven't read it properly. So this one here, the flagpole, I'll start it off for you and you can try and finish it. I want you to do all of this sheet, okay? You must know how to do these ones. A flagpole has a guy wire, so this is the guy wire, okay? Attached to it, which is secured to the ground 6 meters from the pole. So that's 6 meters from the pole. The guy wire makes an angle of 51 degrees with the ground, so that's where our angle goes. Write the distance and the angle in, okay? Label the distance A and H. So hopefully you notice that's opposite the right angle. So that's your H, and this one must be your A. Calculate the length of the guy wire. So we've got to work out this one here. So yes, that is the same as working out a purple one. So it's a swapsies one, okay? Now I'm going to let you have a go at all of those. Remember, the answers are actually down the bottom, are they? So I'll come back with some answers soon, okay? Have a go, please. Bye.